Welcome to Leaders Recon, where we discuss leadership, warrior skills, and other opportunities within the G3 Leadership Development Branch. Today we'll be discussing surviving Ranger School with Staff Sergeant Jessica Smiley. Staff Sergeant Smiley, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's great having you here. And for some of those out there who don't know who you are, would you like to do a quick introduction?
Staff Sergeant Jessica Smiley is part of the South Carolina Guard for many, many years. Done a couple ADOS tours, been a paramedic for a while. Vast variety of skills that I have going on. So
you're one of the first female enlisted National Guard soldiers to graduate Ranger School. What kind of emotions does that kind of bring on?
So initially, it's obviously something, to be proud of, to be able to go and graduate Ranger School, not, as a female, but just as a soldier in general. It's a very challenging and tough course. And myself personally, I try to get away from the fact that, being a female graduating and just another soldier, a National Guard soldier graduating, it's overwhelming, and it's a huge accomplishment. And I'm very proud of myself for being able to do it, but also to help other soldiers to be able to go and accomplish the same thing that I've accomplished. So it's a hefty burden to carry, but one that I enjoy and want to help others go and be successful with.
Before you joined the military, what were some of the things that led you down that path to wanting to enlist?
So I have been a military brat my entire life. My mom and dad were both in the Army. They were active duty. And that obviously is a family tradition, so I wanted to follow in their footsteps and join the military. Now, which branch of the military obviously was, kind of where I strayed away from what they did. They both went active duty. I chose the National Guard. I had a specific career choice of being a paramedic that I wanted to pursue while still being able to serve in the National Guard. Mm-hmm. And they both kind of tied in together with the Homeland Security type field.
And what MOS did you go into?
An MP, 31 Bravo.
For some of those who are maybe listening in or watching, can you kind of give a brief overview of what exactly is Ranger School?
So Ranger School is the Army's premier leadership school. It's supposed to be able to help develop and teach different leadership styles, traits, qualities in a leader throughout the various stages.
And so with that, about how long is it?
62 days.
62 days. Mm-hmm. As long as
it takes you to get through. That's how long it is.
And before you went, what was one of the things that came to you? Is like, I'm definitely, not only do I want to try this, but I want to do this and I will complete it. What was some of your motivation behind it?
So motivation for myself is that I've always tried to go and, find out the hardest tasks that I could and accomplish them. More for internal, like my own personal goals, not necessarily for any other goals than that. Mm-hmm. This was an internal goal, but also one that I could use to influence and develop other soldiers as well. So using those leadership skills that, I acquired through going to school to help influence and guide others in their, journeys forward.
Yeah. What was some of your prep before going to the school to get not only physically ready, but also mentally ready?
So one of the big things is that for a couple months leading up to, is that I completely immersed myself in everything that was Ranger School. So training programs as far as getting physically ready, but then also making sure academically I was ready as well. The website for the Ranger Training Brigade has a lot of information on it, and I made sure to familiarize myself with that, spending at a minimum about an hour a day reading up and trying to learn as much as I could prior to going in areas that I was lacking, specifically with like patrolling and some of those skills that I've never had to do or utilize before.
Was there any kind of National Guard specific training that you went through to help prep you?
So I went to the Ranger Training Assessment course, which is held at Fort Benning, and that's the required National Guard, essentially pre-Ranger, that you're supposed to go to. And that was very beneficial in not only solidifying the information that I already been studying, but also helping with like the practical application of the information I had been studying.
So you moved straight from that right into reporting over to Ranger School?
Initially I did, yes, and then I had a little mishap in my first week of RAP week, and then I ended up going back a couple weeks later with a small break in between. So
with that, as one of the common themes with a lot of people who go through, the odds of you being just a straight shot all the way through is pretty slim. So you just have to get used to, I won't say the word failure because it's not failure, just you said setbacks. What are some of the things that you told yourself when you had this setback?
I told myself that I knew I had prepared as much as I could, and mentally I was ready, physically I was ready. There was just some extraneous factors that happened that caused me to have that setback. So going into it a second time, I knew kind of what to expect. However, that is a pro and a con. A pro because I knew how to game plan it a little better, a con because I knew what to expect. But essentially just keeping that hype man mentality and knowing that I've done everything up to this point to be prepared and ready to go, and there was not much else I could do.
What do you feel was your biggest challenge going through?
So it's a lot easier to read and memorize something than to actually go out and do it. And I learned that in the very beginning that, I memorized all of the steps appropriately and I could tell you exactly what we needed to do next. But physically going out and doing it was something completely different. And never having done that before, that was kind of one of the biggest challenges that I had. I learned a lot in that aspect.
So one of the other big things, like, for the whole, that inner monologue, that inner voice that we all have whenever we're going through any kind of tough events, what did you do to try to keep positive and maintain that positive inner monologue to finish?
I'm kind of my own biggest hype man, so I'm able to hype myself up and talk myself into, my why behind why I essentially was doing it. This wasn't just for me. And this is one of the things in my military career that wasn't just for me. It was for myself, but also soldiers that I've led and that I have the potential to lead. I want them to know that, I was able to go do it myself, and now I have the knowledge and the skills to be able to help, push them forward in their careers as well.
You're in the final stage, Florida phase, day 50, whatever. Leading up to that, you're pretty much going through the mentality of, I will make it through this. And at what point did you start transitioning into, I've made it?
So that didn't actually hit me until we were getting on the bus from Florida, driving back to Fort Benning to Camp Rogers. That's when it became real that I just accomplished this and that I would be standing at Victory Pond on graduation day. It was when everything was said and done, the equipment was turned in, and we were loading our bags onto the bus to head back to Fort Benning, is when I realized I have made it, I have accomplished this, and I just have a couple days until I stand at Victory Pond.
Pretty great, overwhelming feeling that kind of leads into the day you got tabbed. Can you kind of describe to some of people out there some of the emotions or feelings that were going through you during this moment?
So it was a little overwhelming. I sat on our bus ride back and kind of self-reflected on the past couple of months as to, my mentality and how I pushed myself and, what I'd sacrificed to get to that point. And it was, like I said, it was very overwhelming. It's the only way to really describe it. And then when it actually came down to, standing at Victory Pond, it was very surreal. It was, wow, did I just do this? I did. And, it was very proudful moment for myself.
And do you still have any moments where you're putting your uniform together and you're putting the Ranger tab on your left arm where you go, wow?
I still have surreal moments at times. I get a couple weird looks from individuals or from people passing by. They kind of do a double take, and then I'm like, oh, what's that for? And then I realize, oh, I did accomplish this, and it still hits me every once in a while.
What do you feel the description of Ranger School when people call it Hunger Games?
I wouldn't necessarily call it Hunger Games because in the Hunger Games, obviously, everyone's out for themselves. Well, that and everyone's out for themselves. It really comes down to the fluidity and the cohesiveness of the people that you're there with. As I mentioned before, building those good relationships and that rapport with the individuals around you, you're able to play off of each other's weaknesses and each other's strengths. So I would say that it's quite the opposite of the Hunger Games. And in fact, you are, required to work more closely together. Does it present its challenges? Yes, you will be hungry and you will be tired, but that's where it comes to leaning on other people to help pull you through it.
And what would you say are some of your biggest takeaways after graduating?
After graduating Ranger School, my biggest takeaways is, I would say, probably the ability to not only communicate, but to build bonds and relationships with other soldiers that are from unique and different backgrounds. Everybody has something to bring to the table, and you can't discredit someone just because they're not combat arms or because they are combat arms, and just really listening to what everybody has to say, taking into consideration, and then developing a plan and moving forward from there.
That's a great takeaway pretty much for any career field, whether it's civilian sector or the military. It's about establishing those connections. I know for us as warrant officers, that's one of our big selling points, is to go, I may not be the person, but I met this person once, let me give them a call. And do you have any recommendations for the rest of the force, the junior enlisted, junior officers, or anybody else at any state in their career? Do you have any advice for them before they try to attend?
I would say that make sure several months or a couple months prior to going, you are ready to dedicate your life to going to Ranger School, especially coming from the National Guard. You know, we don't live the Army every single day. And finding those small, minute details that you might overlook or not necessarily be completely familiar with or comfortable with, and really exposing them in yourself and then focusing on them and refining them. Because if you go in with like weak areas or weak points, they will be exposed. So try and identify those before you go into Ranger School, and then focusing on dedicating your life to it for a couple of months, because those couple of months of dedication will pay off in the long run.
You said that you committed a lot of time leading into Ranger School towards training. How did you balance that work-life commitment?
So I ended up spending a little bit more time focusing on work than my normal life. When I say commitment, I fully committed to going to Ranger School, and spent most of my days consumed in something that had to do with Ranger School, whether it be an hour of studying, 4.5, 5 hours in the gym, or out rucking. And I kind of had the understanding with my personal life that, these next couple of months were going to be dedicated to training for this. And that's just having a good support network, in my personal life that supported that and understood that it would only be a couple of months. In hindsight, I probably could have spent a little less time preparing and a little more like having a better balance, but I was successful, so I don't regret it, and I wouldn't take it back.
So you definitely recommend good communication about what's coming, and just that way do some kind of expectations management with your support network.
Absolutely. It needs to be, verbalized that this is going to be a huge time commitment, and there's going to be some days when you don't want to get up at, 4 o'clock in the morning to go train, but maybe having someone in your life that pushes you to get up, and, having them understand, the amount of time that it's going to take will help you out and help motivate you a little bit more to only do it once and only spend those 62 days there.
What are some of the programs that you're working on now?
So right now I am kind of helping with Army Combat Fitness Test and Holistic Health and Fitness, and then also helping with some sessions work.
And how are you enjoying working with the new PT test, the ACFT and H2F?
So I very much enjoy the Army Combat Fitness Test and Holistic Health and Fitness. I think that the ACFT is going to bring a whole new dimension of soldier into the military, and it's going to take some soldiers that are already in and develop them into, a brand new soldier, essentially.
I prefer the new ACFT over the old APFT, because now it's a lot more fun and engaging for the whole unit. And even though I definitely feel it a lot more, especially with that sprint drag carry, I feel a little bit better though in general after I finish it.
So it definitely fosters an environment of like esprit de corps and competition, and a lot of soldiers seem to enjoy that a little bit more than the be quiet, turn around, don't say anything.
Yeah,
so
the more dystopian approach. So what's one piece of leadership advice that you have for that brand new soldier, just graduated basic, just out of AIT? What's one piece of advice that you have for them?
The one piece of advice that I would have for them is something that I had someone tell me once, and that's your military career will only go as far as you push it. So don't be afraid to push the limits, and put in for every school that you can, put in for every opportunity that you can, and you're going to be your only setback.
So do you have any other big goals? Are we looking at selection next, or?
I'm working on some near and far goals as far as my military career. I haven't really locked anything down yet, but the sky's the limit. So we'll see how far I can push myself to go.
Staff Sergeant Smiley, thank you so much for coming out today and for being on here, and a lot of great information. Huge awe of your accomplishment. Is, again, I've never gone to Ranger School. I haven't even been to Fort Benning yet. So thank you for coming on today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I'd say you should probably go and try it out.
I'll try to do it at 41. See how it goes. If you'd like any more information on any of the topics discussed on this program, please contact us through any of our social media pages in the links below. Tune in to Leaders Recon over the next few weeks as we bring in today's leaders and pioneers to discuss their experiences, share their wisdom, and help you grow as a leader. We will also be announcing opportunities to sharpen your skills and experience as leaders in today's Army National Guard. See you next time. If you like this episode of Leaders Recon, hit subscribe below and leave us a 5-star review.